The air pulsed with subdued tension. A quiet storm cloaked in refinement. Conversation murmured like a current beneath the glittering surface, broken only by the chime of delicate glassware. Golden chandeliers dripped light like molten wealth, bathing the ballroom in a warm, calculated glow. She glided through it all effortlessly, an embodiment of elegance and ambition, commanding attention with a practiced smile and poised stride. Guests surrounded her. The powerful, the ambitious, the carefully curated elite. They hovered like satellites around a rising sun, not yet sure of her pull, but drawn in all the same. I stood at her side, unremarkable to the untrained eye. Her fingers occasionally grazed my sleeve, an afterthought of intimacy, her wine untouched in her hand. It was Daler 25, a rare vintage she had presented to me that evening, a gesture with no depth. Her eyes didn't linger on me. Instead, they drifted to the titans of industry, the boardroom legends she'd spent years maneuvering toward. "This is David," she said smoothly, her voice carrying just enough warmth to feel rehearsed. "My eccentric cousin." A laugh fluttered through the circle, polite and shallow. I didn't return it. Across the room, a man froze mid-sip. Richard Hale, one of the firm's senior partners, stared at me with startled recognition. His drink trembled in his grasp, the amber liquid trembling like a warning. I saw the moment the memory returned to him. His pupils narrowing, the blood draining from his face. Conversations around us faltered, shifting to hushed murmurs. Heads turned. Whispers began. Those who mattered, who understood legacy and leverage, felt the tremor ripple beneath the polished floor. They sensed something was off, something dangerous hiding beneath the surface of Elise's glittering performance. But to understand what unraveled that night, you must go back, before the spotlight, before the deception. I met Elise in our first year of law school. She was brilliant, relentless, sharp as a scalpel and twice as dangerous. A scholarship student with fire in her bones and a chip on her shoulder. She had something to prove, and refused to lose. I was intrigued not by her beauty, but by her intensity. I kept my heritage hidden then, the family name, the sprawling influence, the empire. Not as a trick, but because I wanted to be seen for who I was, not what I came from. We married soon after passing the bar. A quiet civil union. She wore crimson lipstick and trembled when she said her vows. I believed in those early days that we were building something solid. Equal partners. A shared vision. But that wasn't what Elise wanted. She was always climbing, always chasing more. And I became less of a partner and more of a stepping stone. It started with small erasures. At a Boston legal summit, she introduced me as just Dave. No surname, no hint of the legacy I carried. I excused it as her attempt to stand on her own. But the signs piled up. Hidden accounts. Vanishing weekends. A trace of foreign cologne on her coat. Calls ended abruptly when I entered the room. A colleague slipped once, calling her Elise Carter, her maiden name. Not mine. When I confronted her, she lied with terrifying ease. "I didn't want to be judged by your reputation," she said. The truth was simpler. She had used my name, my resources, my connections, until they opened the doors she needed. Then she shut me out. So I began collecting the truth. Not in anger, but in silence. I compiled dates, receipts, phone logs. I hired specialists who knew how to uncover what others worked to hide. Every shadow she stepped into, I illuminated. Quietly, I moved our assets. Transferred ownership. Spun a web of trusts and legal shields she'd never notice, until it was too late. While she polished her image, I fortified my position. Richard Hale, the man whose jaw locked across the ballroom, had once faced ruin. A ruthless IRS investigation. My father had rescued him from that edge, sweeping away evidence that would have destroyed him. I reminded Hale of that history. Over whiskey, I showed him Elise's lies, not just to me but to his firm. He didn't deny the implications. He only laughed, cold and tight, like a man realizing how close he had danced to ruin. Then came the gala. Elise's grand moment. The culmination of years of planning and performance. She asked me to attend as a distant relative, a nobody, a name forgotten. I agreed. I played the part. I let her shine, pretending she hadn't gutted me from her story. until the moment I stepped forward and said my full name. The reaction was immediate. Richard dropped his glass. It shattered across the marble floor, a sharp punctuation mark. Eyes widened. The air thickened. Those who mattered understood. They saw the carefully spun fiction unravel at their feet. Without a word, Hale turned and walked away. Elise stood alone. The lights still warm but the attention now searing. Her smile cracked. Laughter turned brittle. She tried to salvage control. But the weight of truth was too heavy. By the week's end, her firm placed her under investigation. By Friday, security escorted her out. Partners refused her calls. Her lover, once so available, vanished the moment her value did. When she returned to our penthouse, she found the locks changed. The accounts empty. Everything she thought she controlled was gone. For weeks passed. Then she appeared in my office. Makeup absent, jewelry forgotten, desperation in her eyes. "I made mistakes," she said softly. I looked at her without resentment. "No, Elise. You made choices. So did I. You just didn't see mine coming." She asked if I had ever loved her. I admitted that I had. But love, I told her, sharpens you. It doesn't rage, it watches, learns, and prepares. I walked her to the elevator. As the doors slid closed, her face finally showed what she had refused to acknowledge: defeat. I was never her cousin. I was the reckoning she never expected. Justice doesn't shout. It moves with precision, quiet, patient, and final.